All right, on today's episode of Detour, we are live from my guest room. And I'm working from home today because of all this coronavirus chaos. And I decided to start doing a series of interviews with entrepreneurs I know, uh, really discussing the tales from hell, let's call it that. And the first one up is Bill Feldberg. His company's based out of Nashville. He's based out of Las Vegas. They are a screen printer and promotional products company. They do tens of millions of dollars a year. They have hundreds of employees. And it's an insane story because who they service. They service the live events industry. It's really crazy how their whole world got flipped upside down in a matter of weeks. And Bill's here to talk about it, kind of how they're dealing with it, how they plan to get out of it, and how they're thinking through the situation. I think it would be very helpful for entrepreneurs to kind of experience this and hear this, either for today or for the future, all the things we need to prepare. So let's get into it. All right, everyone. We're going to get into a very interesting conversation with Bill Feldberg from Something Inked. We met on Instagram probably like a year ago and became friends and been talking about doing business as early as like 3 weeks ago. I think we had dinner talking about all these cool ideas we had. And the impact of this virus has hit. And, I heard last week you guys had made took some drastic measures for survival. I think it would be great first to tell kind of a little bit about you and the business, and then we'll kind of dive into it.
Yeah, sounds good, man. So, yeah, our business was primarily event driven. So, we work with a lot of the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, minor league sports, travel and tourism, clients like SeaWorld, theme parks, things like that. So, obviously, when there's no public events, it puts a giant strain on what we do as a company. So, over the
And you
last
guys
couple of
are,
weeks,
sorry to interrupt, but you guys
oh,
are
that's okay.
screen printing for people that don't know.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, screen printing and promotional products. We do a lot of things from game day giveaways all the way to retail projects. So, basically, we describe it as from the cheapest to cheap to higher end stuff that you see in stores like Spencer's, Target, Walmart, things like that. So, our business, primarily was done on the event side though. So, probably about 80% of our business is in live entertainment, sports, WWE, you name it, any kind of a public gathering from marathons to family reunions is stuff that we did. And so when you're mandated to not have groups of more than 10 people together, it makes it very difficult to sell.
And what's crazy is your guys' customer base, I don't know if you're allowed to expose, but it's like it's the biggest. It's the biggest sports teams. It's literally almost every sports team. It's every big concert on earth. And I mean,
Very shy about talking about our clients, but in the last year or so, we've been a little bit more open. But yeah, so we work with all but four of the NBA teams, all but four of the NHL teams, about half of Major League Baseball. WWE is a major client of ours. Universal Music Group that does tours like Travis Scott, Rolling Stones, Guns N' Roses, you name it, any major tour out there, we've probably done merchandise for them. So yeah, it's a lot of big hitters out there that were affected by it.
and so what did those people tell you first? Like, do they
Uh,
just call you and say, "Hey, sorry"?
it's actually, you really find out who your clients are and who your friends are. And fortunately for us, we've always prided ourselves on having a great relationship with our clients where they're friends. And they all called us and said, hey, we're hitting pause on everything. This tour is being canceled. This event's being canceled. This game is canceled, whatever the case was. But hang in there because once we get through this, the floodgates are going to open. And we know how quickly you guys work, how fast you can turn things. You've been there through us, so now it'll be our turn to be there for you once things open back up. So while nobody can do anything immediately, everybody has been very compassionate and reaching out and giving us the assurance that once we get through this and things start to open back up, that we'll be the first company they turn to get merchandise out the door.
So, what did you have to do with your staff?
To make some very difficult decisions. It's not, we've always prided ourselves on putting our team first, putting our employees above everything else. And, as well as some other people in your group that we've been going through a challenge over the last year before the coronavirus hit with figuring out new financing options and figuring out some things to continue to make our business, better in the long run. And those challenges prior to this put a significant strain on our cash flow. So when this hit, it was like the absolute perfect storm. So all the reserves that we had built up, all the rainy day funds, had already been being used over the last year while we battled some other things. So this just put us in a position that we had no option, but we had to lay some people off. We had to let some people go, make those tough decisions that, hopefully when we get through this and we come back out on the other side, we can go right back to them and say, the opportunity is there for you to come back if you want to come back. But this was the first time in our 10-year history that we've ever had to lay somebody off, that we've ever had to let somebody go outside of performance issues. So this was unprecedented for us as a group to handle, and it was very difficult.
Yeah, emotionally, it's the worst thing. I've had to do three major sets of layoffs in my career, and it's devastating, right? Because you feel like you're ruining their life.
Yeah, this was the second one for me. I used to work for MGM Resorts, so during the 2008 to 2011, we had the casino industry was changed quite a bit with the housing market and the recession and everything then. So this was the second time in my life that I've had to do a mass layoff type of a deal, and it is the absolute worst because not only are you affecting them, but you're affecting their family, you're affecting the people that they work with, and you almost get like a survivor's remorse type of a deal for the people that are staying on, and the versus the people that were let go or laid off. So yeah, it's emotionally draining.
Yes. And are you guys still operating for some customers, or have you taken the approach, we're better to just shut everything down because expenses are too high?
We shut our print shop down, the one that we own and operate, and we're continuing to work with a couple of our contract printers that we've partnered with over the years to help them stay afloat. But we have probably half a dozen key clients that are continuing to operate. WWE is one of them that, they have WrestleMania that was canceled and you're doing it for the first time, on a closed set type of a deal. So they're doing some special merchandise for that. And, we have a few other clients that are continuing to try to get us business and order things. But for the most part, about 80-90% of our business is shut down. But we are continuing to try to stay afloat. Our sales team is out there trying to walk that fine line between capitalizing on what's going on in the market by offering face masks and things like that, but also not trying to be that company that's gouging the market or trying to capitalize on a shitty situation. So it's a very difficult line. We've reached out to some of our clients that have factories that are still doing fulfillment and things like that to see if they need face masks. And, we're offering it to them at a very low markup, basically to try to, help them, but also at the same time, keep some cash flowing for us as well. But it is a fine line between, where do you draw the line between, capitalizing on a really bad situation and also at the same time, just completely giving up.
Yeah. And what do you think about if, 3 months from now, the live events industry changes, right? And people view those as high risk for the next 2 years. Do you feel that you guys will just pivot and focus on different industries, or are you kind of live and dying on hoping the live event industry comes back?
We're looking at, trying to pivot. Obviously, there's not a huge area for us to be able to pivot to in terms of what our core business is, but we do believe that there's a lot more online potential. I know you've said on several of your podcasts the same thing, that your business is primarily online, and how do you continue to keep those people shopping? And so a lot of our clients have web stores, have, consumer-facing websites that we're trying to help them work with. But I do believe, like 9/11 changed the entire airline industry, I do believe that this is going to change the entire live events industry. And I also think that there'll be some good things that come out of it in the long run. But, when things do come back around, a lot of our clients have said, they're going to want to look at doing giveaways to, get people back in the door, get people to feel comfortable coming to a game. And, whatever those giveaways might be, we'll do our best to work with them on it. I know right before the NBA was shut down, the Mavs and Mark Cuban gave away hand sanitizer to everybody that came through the doors. I'm not saying that, the core product of T-shirts and rally towels is going to ever go away, but you may see more things like that, wipes and hand sanitizers and, a face mask night. Who knows what's down the road? But yeah, our thought is that live events will come back around, but it is definitely going to be a slow build. And so us looking at, every avenue we can to, not so much to pivot to an entire different, business model, but pivot where we can within our core competencies.
And how's everyone's mood and attitude? Is it stressful amongst like you partners? Is it like how do you guys get through every day? Because like, and I'll tell you, in my office, it's fucking tense right now. Everyone's snapping at
It's,
each other.
fortunately, my partners and I are like family, so we're like brothers. So we fight all the time, in a good way. But this has definitely added a level of stress. The good thing for us is that we're all separated. I'm in Las Vegas. My other partners are in Nashville. So we're not in the office to where we can kind of take it out on each other. So you get a little bit of a grace period there being far away, but yeah, it's tense. And I mean, I would love to lie to you and say that, 24 hours a day, we're as positive as we can be, but there are moments where you just look in the mirror and say, what the fuck is going on? How are we going to get through this?
Yeah.
And as we've told ourselves numerous times, we've been fighting and scratching and clawing our entire business career from the time we started the company all the way up until, a few weeks ago. So why stop now?
Yeah. And were you guys operating in 2008?
We were not. My partners were in the business in a separate entity, not something inked, and I was in the casino industry at that time. But we'd always touted, and everybody in the promotional products industry, which is a billion-dollar industry, has always said that it's recession-proof. And historically, it's been recession-proof. Historically, people always need promo products. People always need giveaways. But this is something that we've never faced. You've never faced an entire shutdown of industries. And I've seen pictures of people driving down Las Vegas Boulevard, and there's not a single person on the strip. And I've lived here for 20 years, and never would have thought. I'm trying to do my part and stay inside, so I've not gone down there to see it firsthand, but I have seen pictures, and it's just unbelievable. Same with Times Square, and I'm sure LA Live and areas like that for you guys are just completely ghost towns right now, which isn't a bad thing,
Yeah.
in order to keep things at bay. But coming back from this will definitely be a challenge.
Yeah, I just went running down Hollywood Boulevard and Walk of Fame area, and there's literally just homeless people. There's no regular people. It was just me and
Wow.
homeless people,
Wow.
which is crazy that, we're at such a standstill. So from your conversations with your customers and your opinion, when do you think there's like a business like yours gets back up and running?
It's hard to say. We've been speculating amongst ourselves for a week and a half, 2 weeks now, and we'd like to say that 30 days, that it'd be a magic switch that turns back on. But I think realistically, I think we're looking at summer. I think June, July, and I think anybody that thinks otherwise is lying to themselves. We're preparing that hopefully things will start to somewhat normalize. June, July, August. But we're also prepared that this could last well into the summer. Um, but you also, logistically speaking, you have concerts that were canceled, you have sports leagues that were canceled, and I'm not sure how familiar people are with the process, but you can't just flip a switch and bring people back into the arena and say we're going to do the NBA games on this day and we're going to let this concert perform on this day. It's going to be a logistical nightmare for all of those
Yeah, wow.
buildings to coordinate things.
Yeah.
So while it'd be great to say, May 1st, the NBA is going to resume and they're going to start the playoffs, they don't know what the schedule in the building was. There might already have been an event committed to that day. So it's going to take a lot of coordinating and a lot of, I guess, collaborating between people in order to make it all work. So I think realistically, I would like to say sometime in the summer is when I think we'll see things start to pick back up. Hopefully it's sooner, but we're not that optimistic that it'll be that much sooner.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's interesting because we're effectively in the same industry. We make apparel for the most part, and it's so crazy how, I mean, my business is impacted, but nowhere near yours, right? Like I'm able to still operate because of the model that I have. And then for you in this adjacent industry, adjacent kind of service is just wiped out overnight. And I think it's interesting because like, what would you have done differently now that you know this information that this could happen again?
I think it changed our mindset on a lot of things as far as having a reserve, as far as cash. I mean, cash is king. And I was listening to one of the detours, I don't know if it was the last one or one before, where you had talked about going to negotiate with your landlord and negotiate with vendors. And we had to do all those same things, immediately get on the phone and say, hey, we're not going to be able to make this payment this month. What can you do to help us out? Same thing with vendors and terms that we have going on. And like I said, unfortunately for us, it was an absolute perfect storm because we had all of these other things going on the prior 12 months that took a lot of our resources and a lot of our rainy day funds in order to get through them. So we weren't set up to be able to handle this as efficiently as we could have at one point. But we've been able to kind of navigate through it with as far as getting extended terms and negotiating. Hey, let's skip this month on rent and we'll make it up next month, and things like that. And for the most part, everybody's been very flexible with us. Nobody's come back and said, I need you to pay me the full amount, or I'm sending it to collections. I mean, I think people are compassionate enough right now. Unfortunately, or unfortunately, everybody is in the same situation. It's not just isolated to one region or one area of the country. It's the entire country. So I think people are being a lot more flexible. And same thing with us. We had a major client, probably our fourth or fifth largest client, that came to us and said, can you guys extend our terms out until June? Can we put a freeze on what we owe you? And because they've shut down all of their buildings, they have 12 or 13 venues around the country that they perform in nightly, and they're shut down operations because they've had to. So same thing, they have no cash flow coming in because they have no business. So while we're asking people for forgiveness on things, or people asking us, we're trying to meet in the middle with everybody.
That's crazy.
And I think it's one of those things where the more compassionate you are, the more compassionate somebody else is. It kind of spirals, and you gotta, as hard as it is to stay positive, you really have to try to stay positive, and you have to try to just keep grinding through it. And we've been focusing on trying to find some new e-commerce clients that we can work with, and find some new outlets that we can deal to, whether it's restaurants that are still serving takeout. Maybe they need menus or magnets or anything that they can give to clients, or people picking up orders. So just really trying to grind through it, kind of going back to basics and stop swinging for home runs and look for singles or get hit by a pitch, any way to get on base. I always tell our sales team that one home run will score less than a single with two men on base. So just get on base any way you can.
Hit by pitch is good.
Yeah. Well, lean into it if you have to.
Well, man, thanks so much for your time. I know it's not fun to talk about, but I think these conversations are super helpful. Where can people find you if they want to kind of reach out?
On my own Instagram, it's at Bill_Feldberg. And then our company Instagram is at Something Inked. And I'm always on there looking through stuff. I mean, like I said, that's how we met. And thankful that you returned my DM that one day, because you guys have been a wealth of information for us. So
awesome, man. Thank you, and good luck.
So thanks, man. Take care. Bye.
Bye.